Hey, what's going on? My name's Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In each episode, we'll explore topics that inspire you to be yourself, live your truth, and make lasting friendships. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it means to bottle up your feelings. You know, when you hide what you really feel, what you don't express, or you implode until one day, somebody does something completely unrelated to what you're angry at. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about why we do it in the first place, how it hurts our relationships, and what we could possibly do instead. Are you ready? Let's go. Bottled up feelings. I would say that by far this is the most destructive pattern that I had to break. Every single one of my connections has suffered because I have bottled up my feelings and not been able to express them in a way that was clean, clear, and concise. I would yell, I would scream, I'd be angry. For all the reasons in the world, it was valid. My anger was valid, right? But to the person that I'm trying to express it to, it was not. It was over the top. I looked unhinged. I looked insane. I looked irrational. Where is this coming from? Nothing that they've discussed with me before. I just seem to pout a lot, but then all of a sudden, boom, rawr. I'm mad at you for all the things because I've been keeping track. I've been tallying it up. I've been keeping track. You don't like me because of this, and this. And so here's my anger justified right back at you. Rawr. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? I laugh now because I look at that and I know that, shoot, I was doing the best I can. And if you're in that situation, you are doing the best that you can with what you have. Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to communicate my feelings. I was taught to bottle it up. Put it in a bottle. Put it somewhere. Don't show it. Don't express it. Don't let anybody know it. But the problem that I've discovered is that when I do that, when I do not allow myself to have feelings, or I do not acknowledge them because I'm going to have them anyway, they're going to be there anyway. But if I do not focus my attention on the fact that I have the feeling and expressing it fully, then I am going to have to do it later. I'm going to have to do it later. Somehow it's going to come out. It's going to come out of my body. And I'm going to cry. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to pout. I'm going to cut somebody off in traffic. I'm going to do something to release the feeling that I have. Or, you know, what usually happens is that we take it out on the people that are closest to us because they're available. They push our buttons and they don't know they're pushing our buttons. They don't know how deeply we are disturbed or hurt by what they've done. And we bottle it up. We don't tell them. We don't tell them, hey, that hurts. Because somebody has told us. Somebody told me anyway. Well, I've learned from society. Your feelings aren't important. You don't have them. If you don't have them, don't acknowledge them. You know? So if you don't have them, how can you express them if you don't know? If you don't know what they are. So I think that's what people get. That's where I'm going to speak for myself. That's where I got this idea, this notion to bottle up my feelings. It's only after so many times that I have bottled these feelings up and inadvertently release them. Like, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to unleash the wrath of the Kraken among many, many people, but I did. I was not even consciously aware of what I was saying. I just knew that somebody had to feel the way I felt inside. Rawr! Release the Kraken. And I did. I destroyed so many relationships and friendships and connections that way. As I look back on that, the most interesting thing I find is that, well, why didn't I share my feelings? I didn't know that they existed, but then when I started to realize that they did, I was afraid that I would push them away if I started to express how I really felt. I think that's like another stage of it. Once you become aware that you have feelings, how do you express them to somebody? Because you're afraid that if you do express them, they'll leave. I was stuck there for a while. And so I would bottle up my feelings. And of course, you know what happened. I started yelling. I started screaming. I had a TikTok video that talks about how I was not a nice guy. I was not a nice person. I was a people pleaser, but I was really, really angry. And I would take my anger out on people. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. So if you went to my TikTok page, you could see you can see the video, it's pinned. But this is what I'm talking about. This idea that I'm going to do everything I can to please you, my friend, my coworker. I'm going to do everything to be in your favor, my supervisor, my family member, so that you will like me. And you may do things along the way, family member, supervisor, friend, coworker, whatever. You may do things along the way that hurt my feelings, and I will not express that to you because I'm terrified that if I express that to you, then you will leave or you will make me feel terrible in some way. So I don't. And you, who is unaware, who continues to interact with me, who is unaware of my growing anger and frustration towards you, you will finally know when I release the Kraken, when I let go of my feelings and everything that I felt wronged by, I will justifiably let you know about, all in one breath, as loud as I can, as destructive as I can. Wow. That's crazy, right? And I wonder why people wouldn't want to be around me. But I've grown since then. And I now know that there are many things that I could have done instead. And I'd like to pass them on to you. What I've discovered about myself and my own healing journey to connect with myself and to be more authentic. By the way, authenticity means that, in my personal opinion, it means that you share your feelings. You honor your feelings. You acknowledge your feelings. That's authenticity to me. And when you do that, you are going to tell that person how they have upset you. And it doesn't have to be in a way, actually, it's not supposed to be in a way that's meant to make them feel your feelings, because that's what we do. We try to get people to feel our feelings. What we want to do, instead of trying to invoke our feelings in another person, like if I'm angry, instead of trying to make them angry, what we'd like to do is tell them what event has happened that has caused the anger in me, caused the anger in you. You want to tell them in a clear, concise manner so that they can understand it. Because if you do it in a way that makes them feel the anger, well, they're just going to be focused on the fact that you've made them angry rather than trying to fix the problem that's caused the anger in the first place. Because if you made me angry, I'd want to make you angry, and vice versa, and back and forth and back and forth. And that's what we do. So if you believed for a moment that screaming and shouting at someone is going to help them understand what causes the anger in you, well, they're just actually learning how to get you to scream and shout. They're not getting to learn how to stop you from screaming and shouting, right? They're really focused on the anger that you show them. So Bottling up your feelings, instead of doing that, we want to acknowledge our feelings and speak them to another person in a way that they can understand, in a way that's clear and concise, right? How do you do that? Well, the hard part is to get in touch with your feelings. You have to know what you're feeling so that you can say it to somebody. You just be like, I'm right now. No, that's not gonna help, because words mean different things to different people. And maybe that translates to something for somebody, but what are you about? What is it? My suggestion for you here, if you're bottling up your feelings, is to name your feelings as soon as you can. When you notice them, name them. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling joy. Those are the 4 basic emotions. Notice them. Notice what they are, and being able to communicate them to another person is going to help you stop bottling up your feelings. And you don't have to say it to another person because you're afraid of the interaction that you might have. But man, write it down. Record it. Say it to yourself on the phone. Look in the mirror and say these things. Get it out of your body. Get it out. Do something with it. But you cannot hold on to it and expect it not to do anything. It's going to come out. Ideally, I've found that the best way to find relief from these feelings, I think the feelings appear so that we can share them with somebody and they can demonstrate that they understand why we feel the way we do. So it's no longer bottling up. It's not talking to a wall either, but it is getting validation from somebody who says, yeah, you should definitely feel that way. I understand completely why you feel that way. For me, this has always been key to helping me feel or releasing my anger by connecting with another person or writing it down, just getting it out of my body and being validated. I should totally feel this way. I'm totally angry. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. That coworker was a jerk, or they weren't kind to me, and I feel the way I do because I do. And by the way, you always have a right to feel the way you do. I mean, my personal belief is that what you think, feel, say, and do is valid and worth acknowledgement. That's my personal belief. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong because there's no value judgment. It's just that you need to notice that you feel this way. And when you start to notice that you feel this way, you stop bottling up your feelings. You don't let it control you when it's time to tell somebody about how you feel. Release that valve and then start talking in a clear, concise manner. All right. I hope that helps. I'll be right back with the Reddit friendship advice question. Are you tired of having boring conversations about nothing that lead to nowhere, that just feel like a waste of your time? Do you want to have deeper, more authentic connections with people in your life? Then skip the small talk and speak from the heart. My name's Coach Lee, and I'm an expert in helping people build stronger, more fulfilling social connections, both personally and professionally. If you're tired of having these boring conversations, then come to my free webinar to learn exactly how to skip the small talk and speak from the heart. I'll be hosting these webinars twice a week for the entire month of March, once on Wednesdays and once on Saturdays. To reserve your seat, click the link in the show notes and select the time that works best for you. Space is limited to just 10 people, so reserve your seats sooner rather than later. I'll see you there. All right, now it's time for the Reddit friendship advice question. If you have a friendship advice question that you think I should answer, tag me in it on Reddit. My handle is Brilliant and Resilient. That's Brilliant, the letter N, Resilient. What do I do about my friend who only reaches out when a favor is needed? I've been friends with this person for a decade now. Everything about our friendship for the majority of these years was great. We'd hang out randomly, call, text each other all the time. whether to see how we're doing, make plans for a meetup or event or some other thing. Fast forward a couple years or so, we both moved out of state. We've always tried to maintain contact, either over FaceTime or phone or texting, but I'm starting to notice that this person only calls or texts when they need me for something. I am a professional copywriter, and I have published multiple books and articles, nothing major, but more industry related stuff. And I get that my friends want a second pair of eyes before sending a cover letter or to look over their resume, but this person only ever asks me to help them with emails, random things requiring written statements, and even text messages to people that they're dealing with. The person goes on to say a lot more about specifics, which is stuff I appreciate, but they say, anyway, I can't help but feel like I'm being used and kept around only to be their errand person. I mean, I cannot be there for them every time they need to send an email to someone. It's kind of ridiculous to me. I do value that they value me as someone who's reliable and trustworthy in these ways, but another thing I should mention is this person loves to travel and has made multiple trips to other states to see friends, and I honestly have never even heard of. They've never heard of these other friends, but they travel to see them. Wow. They go on to say other things about their friend, and they start to conclude with, all in all, it just feels as though we're growing apart, and now every time I receive a text message from them, I can't help but feel some anger and resentment that is yet again only to ask me for a favor. It would be nice to just get a how are you every once in a while versus the out of the blue, hey, do you mind reading this email before I send it to my boss? So their question is, how do I navigate this without being insensitive? I really do care for this person. We've had some great times back in the day, but I don't necessarily want to cut this friend out of my life completely. But I feel so used by them these days. The fact that I cringe every time they text call doesn't sit well with me, and I'm so conflicted. I'd appreciate any advice or similar experiences that you might have. Thanks in advance. Well, I think you're bottling up your feelings. Okay, wait. I read this and I cringed myself because I was here with this person and feeling all the things that they're feeling. Like, I have a special skill and I'm able to help this person, and it's a person that I care about and I want to support, but man, they don't really see me. They don't really see you, Redditor. They don't really see you. They don't know how you're feeling about anything. They don't. And I believe that as I read this post, you didn't make an effort to tell them how you felt. It's bottling. There it is. It's in your body. And you're angry. You're resentful. And you're feeling it. Because when they text you, it's frustration. It comes right to the surface. There's no more joy in the friendship that you had before. It has changed. And that sucks. I know what that feels like. That sucks. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to have your relationship change like that. And the joyous connection that you once had, you want to restore it. You want to continue hanging out with this person. You want to still connect with them. But everywhere you turn, they keep demonstrating that your joy and your interest and whatever's going on with you is not valuable. They're not even checking for it. They're not asking you for it. They're not trying to hang out with you at all. They're not even inquiring about how you are today. It's awful because you have to realize that. It's hard to realize that. You're bottling up your feelings about it because you don't want them to go away. I understand. You don't want them to go away. This is what I read. You appreciate them. You want them to be in your life, but you cringe and you want some support. And what can you do with that? That's your question. That's where you're going. You want to maintain this friendship in some way. That's what I understand the outcome to be, is that you maintain the friendship. But perhaps you will not be able to maintain this friendship because they see you differently than what they've seen you 10 years ago. They see you a completely different way. They just see you as a person who's capable of doing something. And so there are lots of comments here saying that, the favors is the big thing. You need to not do them any favors anymore and see how that works. I do believe that there's some truth to that, because it seems and you understand that they're only reaching out to you because you can do something for them. And you are more than what you can do. You are more than what you can do. When we bottle up our feelings, we are these people, mostly people pleasers, that believe that many times, I guess in my case or in my experience, and I've discovered that we're people pleasers who are constantly trying to do something to prove that they're worth it. They're worth the acknowledgement of the person that they are. So people in the comments have suggested taking away that valuable skill that you have to see if they value you as a person, the things that you do, the things that you're interested in. If they're interested in talking about your day rather than what you can do for them. So that's a test to see that if you take away that skill. I think something more potent would be to tell them how you feel about this. Tell them how you feel. This is like the thing I always gravitate to, is talking about your feelings about the experiences with them. So you get this message from them and you have the feeling. Of course, it's best to process this away from your friend and then tell your friend, because it's very raw. As I'm saying this, thinking out loud, that it's going to be very raw to read a text message from them and then tell them how you feel about that message, because all the bottled up feelings that you had before are going to come out. You're like, this is the last time you're going to ask me to edit anything. Use that Oxford comma or don't. I don't care. And you get mad at them. You get mad at them and say things that may hurt them that you really didn't want to say, because you want to preserve the friendship. This is the key: preserve friendship. You want to preserve that, so you don't want to say the mean things, but you also want them to know how hurt you are about the experience that you're having with them. What I'd recommend that you do is take some time to reflect on what it is that you're feeling from these text messages and why. You need to be able to process that away from them, so that when you share it with them and they respond like they normally do, because they don't know, they may respond in a way that triggers you even more. And the little bit of release of your emotions that you set out is going to just flare up and blow up the whole relationship. And that's what we want to avoid. We really want to avoid doing that. So you want to process those feelings that you have about the letters or the emails or whatever they ask you to process. Why you feel that way, what's missing in your relationship or connection with them, what you wanted it to be like, and what you've lost, what you're trying to connect with. I recommend that you process that away from them and then tell them about how much you miss that, and how when they reach out to you just for the skill that you have, it is damaging the connection that you have. Let them know that. Let them know, because it might be terrible to assume, or I think it's not fair to assume that they just don't like you. I mean, they don't care about you. Don't mean it that way, but I think it's unfair to assume that they just don't care about you. They may have things going on in their life, and they may not be aware of how what they're doing is impacting you. Perhaps they may see it as them genuinely connecting with you because you really enjoy, perhaps I'm imagining that it's your friends, this is your friend's point of view, is that they are connecting with you because you are helping them and you love helping them, and they don't know how else to connect with you. Provide a different avenue for them to connect with you. Refresh their memory about the good things that you had together, and start trying to steer the conversations away from talking about work, the skill that you have. Do something else. Talk about something else that's happening in your life, and set a clear boundary saying, hey, I don't want to do these things for you. I'd rather talk about the things that are happening in my life. I want to reminisce. I want to connect. I want to tell you about me, and I want to learn more about who you are. That's what you want to do, because you want to restore your friendship without the copywriting piece in between. All right. Redditor, thank you so much for asking your question. I know that you didn't ask me to answer it, but I did, and I hope that it helps. Best of luck to you. Take care. My name is Coach Lee Hopkins, and you have been listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. You can find me at patternsofpossibility.com and on all social media at Patterns of Possibility. And as always, I want to encourage you to be yourself, live your truth, and there you'll make lasting friendships.